Welcome into the Pursuit of Manliness podcast, where we are vigorously equipping men to pursue biblical manliness. My name is Jarrett Samuels. I'm the host of the podcast. Men, as always, I like to begin by thanking you for checking out today's podcast episode. Now, if you're watching us on YouTube, I always appreciate when you leave a comment. Let me know where you're watching from, what stands out to you. And if you're listening online, whether it's iTunes, Spotify, anywhere else, man, I appreciate the feedback. I appreciate the reviews when you share the show. Man, I also want to remind you this podcast episode is sponsored by Dark Water Woodwork, darkwaterkc.com. Doug Cole has been a long-time sponsor to this podcast, and just recently he has a new beard oil release. It is called Autumn Spice, not pumpkin spice, Autumn Spice, and as Doug would say, get you some. So if you go to his website, you check out what he has available. These seasonal drops and things that he places throughout the year are only here for a limited time. So use the discount code in the show notes. You'll save money on your order. Men, it's time for today's podcast conversation. Men, I can still think back on that very first blog post. I've shared this a number of times. I wrote it in a coffee shop, freezing cold. I think it was in December. Christmas music just blaring over my head. And when I finished writing the post, I looked at it and I thought, now what? Like, do I just keep writing blog posts? Now what? Now, what do I do with this to try to get this out there that someone might take a look at it? And then what's the next one? And I share that with you, not to get nostalgic, but to say that is exactly how I've tried to conduct what I do with the Pursuit of Manliness. It's always been about the now and the next. Guys in Tribe can tell you the same thing. We have a session that's going on, but I'm always thinking about the next one. We have a men's retreat that's going on. I'm always thinking about the next one. I want to be forward thinking. I want to take an evaluation of what's going on, what's working, what's not working, what needs to be changed or modified. And just yesterday we wrapped up registration for Tribe 15. I can't believe we've had 15 sessions of Tribe. Through these 15 sessions of Tribe, we've had hundreds of guys go through this. We have guys all across the globe that come together that are in one tribe, and as we've had this tribe grow, not just numerically, but relationally, spiritually, and in maturity, it's caused me and others to look at what we're doing and say, I think that needs to change next time. I think we need to add that. I think we need to stop doing that. I think we need to modify that. You get what I'm saying. And so as I've looked at the Pursuit of Manliness, I looked at the Quiet Life community. We've done some things in there. There's been some regular posts that have been very rhythmic with the Pursuit of Manliness. Somewhere along the way, I thought we need the herd. We have a lot of men who support the Pursuit of Manliness. You buy the gear, you subscribe to the episodes, you share the stuff. But I wanted to give you a little bit more, and through the herd, there's just a little bit more content, a little bit more community that comes with that. Last year, I think it was June of last year, I'm walking, I'm out of town with my wife and kids, and I'm walking by myself one day, and I felt like the Lord laid on my heart the framework for biblical manhood. I never thought about this before, but it just kind of felt like there it was. And so as I flushed it out in my mind, I sent it to a friend of mine, and I said, does this make any sense? He said, I think you might be onto something. And if you've seen the framework for biblical manhood, it is we're to be spiritually sound, physically fit, mentally strong, relationally established. Like, that's the frame. That's what we go after. And on Fridays, not all Fridays, but most Fridays, there's an email that goes out. It's the framework field notes, and it's highlighting one of those 4 aspects of the framework for biblical manhood. And that framework is simply this: if it belongs, keep it. If it doesn't, purge it. And I put on some shirts and challenge coins and water bottles and I don't know what else, but I think there's more to it. And a couple months back, I started to think about this idea that we have done kind of 90-day initiatives within the Pursuit of Manliness, but there's never been skin in the game. Hey, there's 90 days left in the year. What are you going after? Hey, 90 days in the summer, we're reading the Gospels, that we're going to make a comment every day. Hey, 90 days of this. We've done some of these things, but there's never been any skin in the game. We've never really raised the standard to say, are we really in, or are we just kind of giving a little bit of hoorah when the post comes, but there's no follow-through? And so, man, I'm excited to share with you today's podcast. I've invited a couple friends of mine on the podcast, Clint and Patrick. I've known these guys for a number of years. They're good men. We have conversations about a lot of different things. But as I've tried to flush out the 90 days of discipline, I've bounced some ideas off of them to the point that I said, I need to bring you guys in on this. Not only they've been brought in on, they're asking their wives, hey, what do you think about this as we work out 90 days of discipline? I'm talking about January 1st, 2025 to April 1st, 2025. We're going to build a community of men who are going to get after it. I got to be honest, when I look at what's laid out so far in the 90 days of discipline, and we're going to share a few aspects of it on today's podcast, I look at it and I think, that really is raising the standard. I look at that and think, I'm going to need to be more disciplined with my time. I'm going to need to be more disciplined with my effort, my relationships, my energy, where I'm spending my money, what I'm doing physically. And that's a good thing. Because, man, I don't want to just get through this life. I don't want to sputter into a new year. As a matter of fact, my least favorite day of the year is December 31st. It's my least favorite day. Because it's one of these days that you're just kind of waiting for the ball to drop. I just think, let's just get on with it already. And so maybe that's why I'm so excited to share this with you. Like, let's get on with it already. Let's think about January 1st to April 1st, and let's get after it. Within this community, and again, we're going to share some aspects when we get into it, but within this community, you're going to be paired up with a couple other guys. You're going to have this kind of threefold group that you're with in addition to being a part of a large community. It's very similar to what we do in Tribe, but it's just you and a couple other guys. And the idea is, can you spur one another on? If you're on Facebook, I'm going to tell you, it's going to help substantially. If you're not on Facebook, yes, you can still do this. But I think the Facebook is going to give you a community that's really going to help spur you on. I know some guys are not so sure about Facebook. Listen, you don't have to have it. I'm just letting you know on the onset. But in that community, in that Facebook group, we're going to have daily posts. We're going to have check-ins. We're going to have mile markers where we say, hey, we're at this point. How are we doing? But the idea is raise the standard in your life. We're using the framework for biblical manhood, those 4 aspects, and there are challenges. There are goals. There are things that we're expecting you to do, and then we can check in with one another to see how it's going. Men, that's enough for me right now, man. I want to bring these guys in on the conversation and let you hear a little bit from them. Well, men, I want to welcome Clint and Patrick to the podcast. Guys, thanks for making time tonight to join us for this conversation.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, man.
Hey, man, so I've already talked in the intro. You know, one of the things with this 90 days of discipline is kind of that next level challenge idea of saying, okay, we're growing spiritually. You guys are in Tribe. You've done a lot of things when it comes to POM, but this is something we've been talking about for, I don't know, a month or so of saying, how do we raise that standard in our own life? And so when you consider going after for something for 90 days, you've done some things, you know, just different disciplines and stuff. What are some things you consider before you embark on a challenge that you know is going to stretch you?
For me, and this is something I've learned kind of the hard way. I've got 3 kids, and so looking at the calendar, kind of looking forward at the calendar, seeing what's coming up, you know, figuring out what it is that I'm looking at doing, trying to figure out how much time that's going to take. Okay, well, this is what our calendar has, so am I really going to have that time to give to it?
I've pretty much been doing the exact same thing over the last month or so. Different things that I've been trying to do a little bit more of, as far as like working out or reading. I've been looking at my schedule also, and I got to look at my kids' soccer games, gymnastics, all kinds of stuff. And I've been putting it in my calendar on my phone, and I treat it just like I would with work. You know, I'm not going to be late to work. I'm not going to be late to a doctor's appointment. So if it says I'm getting up at 3 o'clock to do whatever in the morning, then I'm making it happen. I'll set an alarm and make it happen.
When we look at this idea of 90 days of discipline, the first thing we have to get right will be the spiritual side. And so when you consider that in your own life, like, how do you incorporate that discipline currently right now in your life to say, I need to make sure I set the tone with that, and then everything else can kind of fall into place?
For me, it's just how I start my day. And if it's not how I start my day, it's just becomes very, very difficult for me to fit it in the day. As I get going, as life gets started, as we go to school, as we go to work, as we get home, you know, even on weekends, you know, the day just gets filled. And so if you don't set aside that time, like Clint was saying, set aside that time and then make sure that you use the time that you've set aside for what you set it aside for. You know, it goes back, it sounds cliche, but it just goes back to what we always talk about, being intentional. And so for me, it's first thing in the morning. It's up early. I've gotten to where I like that I'm outside. It's dark. It's me and the stars, man. It's just me and Jesus reading the scripture, praying. It's It's a time to do a little more long form prayer. It's just been good to have that time, to spend that time, and to get that discipline cultivated and be consistent with it.
Yeah. Once again, I'm pretty much the same thing. I try and make some coffee within about 15 minutes after I get up, and then I'm either having coffee with Christ at my kitchen table or out on the front porch. And just like him, I normally do it as early as I can because I try and get everything done for myself right off the bat at the beginning of the day before everybody wakes up, because later on in the day, more than likely it's not going to happen. And we have to get that time with Jesus in no matter what.
I will add to, for me, the just the small tweak of making sure it's outside was really important. Inside, even if it's just me that's awake, there's still, you can look around and see all the stuff that kind of needs to be done, right? That just got left over from the day before. When I'm outside, there's nothing else.
So we're not going to talk a lot of specifics about the 90 days of discipline, but I want to talk about this framework. And it's obviously, as we started with the spiritual part, there have been times in my own life where I get kind of in a spiritual funk, or I keep doing the same thing, or I feel like I'm just spinning my wheels. One of the things we are going to incorporate in this is the discipline of journaling, just writing something down every day. Either one of you have that practice now, or have you used it or done it in the past?
I started out this session of Tribe really good with journaling. I mean, you and me would message each other pretty much almost every day, and we would talk about, writing things down. And there's been some times where I'll miss 3, 4, 5 days, and it kills me. Right now I'm back at it. At one point I tried to okay, well, I missed this many days, so let me go back here and let me write something down for those days that I missed. But I just got to where I didn't do that anymore. I don't know. I feel like you're just kind of chasing your tail whenever you do that. I just pick back up right where I left off and just get back at it.
For me, journaling's been a discipline that I've wanted to incorporate for a really long time and just never did it until recently. It's really been this session of Tribe, even more frequently, probably the last 2.5, 3 months. And I'm not going to say it's every day, but it's most days. Even if it's just a verse, and just copying a verse that stood out to me, or from times it's been something that's been in the commentary of my study Bible, or even the introduction to the book, but something that I can then go back to and go, okay, this is kind of try to help reorient my reading for the day so that I'm following a theme as best I can. And I don't remember who it was, Jerry. I don't remember if you said it or if it was somebody else I was listening to, but we have these journals for Tribe, and at one point somebody said, when I'm not here, these books will be left, and it'll be something that people can come back and look at. But these were the things that obviously stood out to him, were important to him, and it helps to just leave a legacy to some degree.
Hey, one of the things that we want to incorporate into this is, as we keep talking about, raising that standard, and one of them is going to be fasting. And we kind of incorporate that into these 90 days. There's a rhythm to it. It's not every day or anything like that, but it's a way that we can start the week off with that, devoting that time to the Lord. And when I thought about this idea, Patrick, I remember you sharing some stuff with guys in Tribe, and you got a number of us to fast for your wife. So would you just share that, kind of how you've incorporated that discipline, and then maybe, a word of encouragement to that guy that says, I've never done that. I don't think I'm in on that fasting thing.
Yeah. So I fast. I do a 24-hour fast every week. I fast from dinner on Monday night to dinner on Tuesday night. So I guess some weeks it's not exactly 24 hours. I don't stay a slave to the clock like that. But and so for me, it's been something that I started after my wife got some medical issues last year, just as a way of saying thank you for some healing, and to stay connected for in praying for more healing still to come. And in my head, I've kind of set it up as long as she's on the medicine that she has to take for the stuff, that I'm just going to keep fasting every week. And so for me, it looks a little different every week. I still drink my coffee every morning, but other than that, it's just water. I don't eat anything. It's some days I'll sit in my office and read scripture and pray. Some days I'll still go to the gym and get a workout or go get a run in. But if I'm doing those things, if I'm exercising, then I'm listening to a sermon, I'm listening to a podcast, I'm listening to worship music, something just to keep my attention on God, keep the message and the information focused on that kind of stuff. And so invariably, no matter what you do, at some point you're going to get hungry. That's just part of it. I think that's a good part of it. I think it's important for all of us to feel hunger, right? That's, a lot of our churches have outreach programs where we're giving food to the hungry and needy in our community. Well, man, if you've never felt that, it's hard to really talk to those people, empathize with them. So it's important, I think, to feel hunger every week. And then, so when I feel that way, that's a cue for me that's a prayer I need to say. God, I need you. I need more of you. I'm relying on you, on your provision, on your promises that you're always going to be present. You're always going to provide what we need. I don't need more food at that point. Anybody that's seen me knows I've had plenty of that in my lifetime. A little bit less won't hurt me for any period of time.
Hey, another facet of the mental discipline that we try to incorporate is reading something outside of the Bible. The Bible's the non-negotiable. Reading something that's going to stretch us. Clint, I know that's a discipline you're incorporating into your own life. So how many, what are you committing to? 10 pages a day, 15 minutes a day? What's that looking like for you?
Yeah, I'm starting to do 10 pages a day. I try to do it first thing right after I have my coffee with Christ in the morning. And then later on at work, I'll try to if during one of my breaks, I'll try to do those same 10 pages. It's just a way that if you do 10 pages a day, you could read one book a month, basically a 300-page book a month. So I want to try and start getting in minimum 12 books a year. They're usually going to be, some type of Christian books, something that's going to help me more with the Bible, or it's going to be like one book I'm reading is Atomic Habits, how to win friends and influence people, or whatever that book's called. But so yeah, I trying to do that more because I want to increase my knowledge.
Like any of these things, I think the spiritual, we can say non-negotiable. We should all do it. I think the mental part, we all like to think we're better than what we probably are. But one of the things I feel like is a great hindrance to many of us, and I can be in that same boat, is the relational part. I know I'm responsible to my wife and kids, and so I can use an excuse, wife and kids, why I don't have friendships, or I can, spend too much time at work, and that's why I don't spend time with the wife and kids, or I can, spend too much time at work, wife and kids, and then I don't devote any time to church because I'm living for the weekend or whatever. It is important that we have high caliber friends in our life. And one of the things we're going to incorporate into this 90 days of discipline is the accountability element. Every guy's going to have one or two guys with, that's kind of be grouped up to keep them going. When you consider some of the challenges and things that you've encountered in life, some of you guys have done physical things or whatever. What role has the relational component played to help you keep you on the right track?
For me, quickly, when you've got somebody else there that you're accountable to, that, and maybe they're relying on you, it's a lot harder to say no. It's a lot harder to quit. It's a lot harder to not do the things that you need to be doing, the things that you've said you're going to do. The follow through is much higher when you've got a group, and just when you've got somebody to lean on, right, to bounce ideas off of. To, hey man, I'm struggling today. I just need. Can we go to a movie? Can we go to lunch? Can we just go for a run? Can we go for a hike? Can we do something?
There's been some times where I've done, say, something physical, done a couple of Spartan races and a Tough Mudder, and I've always done it with a couple of buddies of mine. And a buddy of mine, Russell, he would always push me, man. He would make sure I would be there wherever I said I was going to be to meet him to go run. Because I tell you the truth, I hate running. I do it because I hate it. Man, that guy pushed me like crazy. He's a former Marine, former Air Force, so he's going to try and push me to my limit. But the online component of having, I guess, an accountability partner is a little bit different because you can fudge it. You can get around it. They're not really going to know that you're doing it, but that's where we need to be true with each other. We need to be honest with each other and hold each other accountable and push each other. That's the only way we're really going to get through things is with people. You can't do this life without people.
Yeah, I think you guys can attest to this. We never run a daycare for dads. We're not in the business of coddling guys, but we will come alongside guys. And I think that's where the accountability element comes in to say, hey man, I'm just checking in. It's been 3 days. Haven't heard from you. You doing okay? And so if you get a couple guys doing that, even in this component of what we're doing, we've kind of done that to each other. Hey, I want to touch base on the relational, the mental, whatever. And I think it helps spur you on. I don't know about you guys, but there are times that I'm doing something, not necessarily because I want to do it, but because I know the rest of the group is doing it and it's the right thing to do, to get in the word, or to, whatever, if it's fasting or whatever the thing is, I think that's important when you consider tribe, because we're not promoting tribe, but that's how we know each other. Do you feel like there's been an impact in your home because of some of the relationships that you've had in tribe that we hope to see in this 90 days of discipline?
Oh, 100%. The changes that have been made in myself because of tribe has affected everything I do here at the house. I expect in this group in the 90 days to build some more relationships to where you're just going to keep on growing and growing, and it's going to, go out into every other aspect of your life, just like tribe has.
Yeah, I was listening to Clint, but I was also, my wife's sitting right across the room, so I asked her if she wanted to come answer this question, because I figured she could. If you really want the truth, get your wife over here to answer that question. She said she wasn't interested in answering, but she did nod her head that there has been some positive changes in our house as a result of tribe. Jerry, you and I were talking, before we started tonight. Been in tribe now for 4.5 years, something like that. It's been a while. Clint and I started at the same time, and I think this question, it kind of makes me chuckle because of what our challenge video in tribe is this week, as we read chapter 11 of Hebrews, and who has been people that have kind of ushered you through the faith. And for me, I grew up going to church, but I didn't grow up in Sunday school. I didn't grow up in summer camps. I didn't, the Bible was not something that was talked about a whole lot in our house. The men that have helped me grow the most in my faith are the men in tribe. There's no doubt, no mistake. When you surround yourself with high quality individuals, you can't help but have some of it rub off on you.
And again, this isn't tribe that we're talking about. However, we're taking components of tribe and we're taking things that we've walked through and worked through, and we're encompassing it into these 90 days and saying, hey, what if we set these 90 days in front of us, and we're trying to be very intentional with them. We have a goal, we have a direction, we have some accountability, we have some things that are clear, they're marked out, daily conversations, monthly check-ins, whatever. One of the things that's pretty natural for guys at the beginning of the year is we're all going to get healthy. And then you get to January 12th and, well, I blew that. So what this physical fitness part, man, this is one that can be, some guys it's low-hanging fruit, other guys it is the great hurdle to overcome. What do we do when it comes to physical fitness? How do we get started on the right foot so that it is sustainable, and then we see the full 90 days through?
Me and Clint are kind of laughing. I think we could both go for a while on this one. I think though, Jared, what you said, like get started on the right foot, is you just have to get started. You got to go do something, right? If it's a walk, if it's a 10-minute walk after dinner every day, whatever, you just got to go do something. Man, I used to be the guy that hunted for motivational videos, motivational speech, anything to get me going, right? And eventually it just dawned on me that the more I looked for those things, the more I was just starting over again and starting over again and starting over again, right? Because that motivation would create an excitement, and that excitement would last for a couple of days, but eventually that excitement has to turn to commitment. And if it never does, then you're excited for a few days, you stop, and now you got to find something to get you excited again for a few days, and then you stop, and then you just I would just get stuck in the cycle, And so finally one day I just decided we're just not going to do it that way anymore. We're going to do it because it's good for us. Because as an adult, it means doing things that are good for you, because it's good for you. It doesn't. There are times when it's fun. I'm not going to lie to you, man. I got in the gym today at lunch and did some new stuff and lifted some weights. Man, my legs are feeling it right now. And that's good, because I've been doing this for a while now. I don't get sore very often. That's 2 weeks in a row now that I will have had some soreness that's lasted for a few days. Man, that's such an awesome feeling that you've produced change in your body that way. And so for me, it's just become a decision. I don't look for motivation anymore. I don't look for attaboys. I don't look for somebody to tell me what I need to do or not need to do. it's just a decision. Today, this is what we do.
I guess the easiest way to get started is just, like I said earlier, man, put it on your calendar. Decide that, these are the days that I'm going to do it. Start out with, if it's 30 minutes, then it's 30 minutes. If it's 15, go with that. But don't go into it like you're still in high school, like you're going to go out there and you're going to just do, a bunch of sets and high reps. You're going to kill yourself, and you're going to be so sore you're not going to want to do it again for another week or two. So just start off easy. Take a couple of exercises a day, and then just gradually work into it. And yeah, you're going to be sore. Soreness feels good sometimes, but after a while, you can start adding a couple of exercises here and there and stuff. As you build onto it, you'll grow. You'll lose some weight. You're getting better health. It's just, and like Patrick said, eventually it'll just turn into a habit that you just do every day, just like reading your Bible. It's something that you're going to want to do every single day because you feel better the days that you do it. Yeah, you're going to be sore, but man, you feel so much better. Your mind feels good. There's nothing like walking around when you got like a good pump in your legs or in your arms or chest or something like that. You just feel a lot better mentally and spiritually if you read your Bible. I like listening to some worship music lately whenever I'm working out. It'll be like some country hymns or some just praise and worship, which I never thought I'd be doing that while I was working out, but I like it.
Can I just add to this? I've been a physical therapist for 16 years, and I can say with 100% certainty that consistency beats complexity every time. Just it doesn't have to be complex. It doesn't have to be the latest and greatest. It doesn't have to be 20 exercises that you found on Instagram, but it does need to be done consistently.
When you guys were talking, I took a look at the notes for the 90 days and the physical fitness part, and what I see is it's pretty basic. It builds upon itself. So if it's a guy saying, "Hey, I'm not, I don't have a gym membership, whatever," hey, just do what you can. It's going to build upon itself. You get to the end of 90 days, I believe you're going to do a lot more than when you started those first 90 days. And I think we would say this with any of these things. If you drop off for a period of time, just jump back in wherever you're at. It's better than not doing anything. And so again, that's for the accountability part. That's where we're trying to set some mile markers and say, hey, we have some check-in points during these 90 days to try to say, okay, let's make sure we have touch points, weekly, monthly, etc. So Clint, when you think ahead, we've been kind of fleshing this out for a minute. What are you looking forward to for this 90 days of discipline? And then Patrick, you can follow up.
Man, growth, in the whole framework of biblical manliness. I mean, growth in all four areas right there. Really, I want to, for me, I want to focus a lot on the relational. I really want to dig into praying with my wife. That's something that we really haven't done hardly at all. I don't know why. It's just something we haven't done. We always seem to be busy. So need to slow down, take her out a little bit more than what we already do, and then get more reading done. And hopefully for me, drop a couple of those pounds, drop about 10, 15 pounds, hopefully.
For me, discipline is just a big word for me. I think it's really important. A few sessions ago in Tribe, we read a book called The Titus 10. And I have a buddy at church here locally who's kind of started a young men's group. We meet every couple of weeks, and he wanted to go through that book. And so that's what we've been going through. And we started by just going through the book of Titus in the scripture and reading it, and every time I read Titus, it stands out to me in chapter 2 when he addresses young men and old men and young women and older women. The only consistent theme through that was self-control, right? We're all to be self-controlled. And so one of the nights that we were meeting, I just asked guys, because this is something I've thought about, what do you see as the differences between self-control and self-discipline? And one of the guys, I thought it was a beautiful answer. He goes, well, self-control over time creates self-discipline. And so that's what I'm looking for here. I think nobody ever has this figured out fully. Well, maybe Goggins does, but the list is short of folks that have this figured out fully, right? but there's so much potential if we can get more men disciplined to scriptural biblical things, right? There's so much good that can be done, so if that means that through this process we get, I don't know, 3 or 4 guys or 30 or 40, I think either way, there's a starting point here. And so that's what I'm most excited about, is just to see kind of how this works, right? How do guys buy in? Is it something that has some lasting effect and really creates, the beginnings of change in people?
I was thinking while you were saying that, Patrick, that one of the things that I'm going to work on, obviously, is the consistency. I want to make things so easy that it's hard not to do it. Don't overcomplicate what we have going on here. Just simplify it as easy as you can, and just get it done. The easier it is, the more likely you'll stick to it, I think.
Well, one of the things that I really like about the framework we've talked through for some of these things is most of it is pretty simple, but not much of it is just easy when you look at it from a perspective of 90 days. And I think that hard is important. I think it's important to do hard things. I just don't think you see growth from easy things, right? I think if you stay within your comfort zone, then your comfort zone just shrinks. You've got to bump into the edges of that comfort zone for it to continue to grow and for you to continue to grow. I think some of the things we've talked about here are probably going to create some issues for some guys where they've got to bump into the edges of their comfort zones in some ways. And that's good. I think that's really good.
Yeah, I'm thinking our local team here, the Indianapolis Colts, a couple weeks ago, their quarterback went for a little run on the field, got a little winded, tapped the side of his helmet and said, "I need to come out." He has gotten ridiculed for 2 weeks about that, whether that was right or wrong, but I'm telling you, and you know what, he lost his starting position. And I thought, as men, we can't afford to tap out. We can't. We got to figure out a way to stay in the game. And the best way to stay in the game is getting this framework correct. I need to be spiritually sound. I need to be mentally strong, where I tell myself, hey, this does suck, but it's worth it. I need to be relationally established, where I got guys challenge me, encourage me, taking pictures, whatever you're doing, whatever, and physically fit. Fatigue makes cowards of us all. So the more worn down we get, the easier it is to tap out. I got one more question for you guys. Well, let me say this. Thank you for making time tonight, to your wives, your kids, all that. Wives singular. You can't have more than one. But thank you for being on the conversation tonight.
Once again, man, I want to thank Clint and Patrick for being on the podcast. I know for them it's a little bit out of their comfort zone, but I appreciate them sharing. I think it's good for you to hear from guys that's not just me. I can tell you what this is going to be or what I hope it's going to be, but I'm not a salesman. I don't like that aspect, so I want to bring some other guys in and say, hey man, hear from these guys. These are guys who are going to be a part of this. These are guys who are already doing some of these things in their own lives. These are guys who are trying to raise the standard within their own life. And this is why they've helped come up with some of these challenges or some of these expectations to say, this is what we do now. This is how we live. This is how we function. Man, I would love for you to be a part of it. You go to the gear store. There's a link. It's the first link in the show notes. You go to the gear store. You can find out more details. I break it down. I show you what you get. Here's what you get when you sign up. Here's the communication. Here's when it starts. All those things. I wanted you to know this is what it's going to be like. This is what you can expect. And men, I hope when you get in this thing, you're saying, Jared, I'm ready to raise the standard in my own life. I don't want to sputter. I don't want to spin my wheels going into 2025. I want to get after it. I don't know how much time I have on this planet, and you don't either. But I want to take these 90 days and just get after it. Push myself. Get out of my comfort zone. Raise that standard and say, if I can do this for 90 days, man, who knows what happens on that 91st day? Who knows what changes from being a part of a community like this? Who knows what changes in my own life because I'm willing to stretch myself, commit myself, again, get out of my comfort zone and raise that standard with other like-minded men who are doing the same thing. Man, I just think people around you are going to notice the difference. So I appreciate you guys who listen, who watch, who share the show. I appreciate you men who are going to be a part of the 90 Days of Discipline. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Let's keep pursuing biblical manliness.